I come here with the word of peace, the word of salam for all of you. There are similarities, but also there are differences between two countries, Indonesia and Pakistan. I will start with little things to start my presentation. Let's talk about certain similarities, which I think is important to be highlighted. There are certain similarities when we begin a public event like this, seminar or discussion. We have tradition of beginning a seminar discussion with the recitation of the Quran. So we have also the recitation of the Quran today. And then after the recitation of the Quran, it's followed by the salawat. You have na'at. This is something new for me, and it's very interesting, the na'at, which means praising the Prophet. So the tradition of praising the Prophet and reading salawat for the Prophet is also a very deep-rooted tradition in our society as well. So, and also we begin our speeches like this with salam, but the difference is that you start with, addressing guests, and then you say salam. In our case, we start assalamu alaikum, and then you address the guests. But anywhere you start your speech with salam. So this is, I think, something universal in any Muslim society everywhere. And I think this is a good tradition because salam basically means, a peace. Muslim should be a peaceful person. Everywhere they meet people, they start with the word of salam, the peace for others. And this is something that is very emblematic of the ethos and the spirit of our teaching, the teaching of peace. Yeah. There are also much more important similarities between Pakistan and Indonesia, I guess. And that is that the larger part of the population, the Muslim in both countries, they belong to the Sunni madhab. We follow the legal madhab. In the case of Indonesia, we follow the Shafi'i madhab. In the case of Pakistan, you follow the Hanafi madhab. But anyway, it's a madhab, the legal madhab, which is a very important legal tradition in both countries. We have also similarities in other cases. We have, I think, a very deep-rooted tradition of mystical tradition, the tasawwuf, the Sufism. You have a lot of tariqah here in Pakistan, Naqshbandiyya, Chistiyya, Qadiriyya, Shadhiliyya. There are around 40 tariqah in Indonesia, including Naqshbandiyya and Shadhiliyya and others. But the point is that Sufism, as a tradition, as a spiritual tradition, is also deeply rooted in our society. And I can tell you that Sufism and the Sufi people were the people who were responsible of bringing Islam from Arab land, from Persian land, from Indian Pakistan land to Indonesia. Those are the Sufis. They spread and taught Islam to Indonesian people. We call Nusantara, meaning archipelagic, land in Nusantara. So those people, the Sufi people, were the people who brought Islam to Indonesia. And the beauty of Sufism, as I understand, because I am also growing up in a Sufi tradition as a family. I came from a traditional family, and I grew up in a very spiritual family. I learned a lot of spiritual traditions of Naqshbandiya and Shadhiliya. So the beauty of Sufism, as I understand, is that they have the wisdom which says that, this is in Arabic, lawnul ma'i lawnu ina'i. This is the wisdom of the Sufism. Lawnul ma'i lawnu ina'i. The color of the water is the color of the vessel. So in Sufism, you have this wisdom. Lawnul ma'i lawnu ina'i. The color of the water is the color of its vessel. Meaning that water is basically colorless. That is, water has no color. Water, the pure water is transparent. It doesn't have any color. But if you put water in a vessel with certain colors, then the water will take the color of its vessel. This wisdom is a wisdom that became the practice of the Sufi everywhere. Sufi people travel all over the world, bringing Islam, and Islam is like water. Islam that is brought by Sufi all over the world is like water. It's transparent. Islam can be planted in different land and countries. When you bring Islam into the land of Indonesia, Islam takes the color of Indonesian context. When you bring Islam to Pakistan and Afghanistan, Islam will take the color of the vessel, which is the vessel of Pakistan and Afghanistan. But Islam as a teaching doesn't change. Its essence is similar everywhere. So this is, I think, the wisdom of Sufism that is responsible for making Islam being accepted easily by the local people everywhere, including in Indonesia. So Islam come to Indonesia in a peaceful way through the Sufi people. That's, I think, the beauty of Sufism, and I think we are indebted to those people who bring peaceful Islam to Indonesia, to Pakistan, to all land. Yeah. So that's the important similarity between Pakistan and Indonesia. We have a deeply rooted tradition of Sufism and spiritual tradition. Yeah. Okay, this is just a muqaddimah, a preamble, an introduction. Now I will come into the important business in my talks. Indonesia and Pakistan both are two biggest Muslim countries in the world. We have around 280 million people currently, population. And Pakistan has around 250 million population, right? Currently, around 250 or 40, yeah. Okay. So if you mix both countries population-wise, you will have the largest population, Muslim population in the world. If you bring together these two countries, it will become the largest Muslim population in the world. Whatever happened to Islam, it is the responsibility of these two countries. If Islam is perceived badly by other people, it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility. You take a big responsibility of propagating, of doing da'wah for a good Islam. If there is a wrong perception of Islam in the outside world, I think the mistake is in your hand. Because Pakistan and Indonesia are the largest Muslim population in the world. We have a great responsibility. With big numbers come a big responsibility. That's the word from the Batman movie, I guess. Yeah. With big numbers come the big responsibility. We have responsibility of practicing Islam so that Islam become perceived as a religion of peace, a religion that brings peace and brotherhood and sisterhood for all people. Indonesia, this is something a lesson that I can share with you all here. Indonesia has been undergoing a tremendous political, social, and cultural changes after 1998. That's the historical moment for us. 1998, the month was the May. The collapse of the so-called a new regime, a new order. This is a political order that ruled Indonesia for almost 30 years, ruling Indonesia in a very authoritarian way. It's collapsed in 1998, and then since then, Indonesia became a democratic country. Since 1998, Indonesia had succeeded in conducting 6 peaceful and democratic, open and fair elections. 6 elections, including the last election in February this year, which brought the current president, the next president, Mr. Prabowo Subianto. So 6 elections, fair and democratic and open elections. Indonesian case, I guess, is a good case that shows to us all that there is no contradiction. There is no conflict between Islam and democracy. I know that there is some discussion or polemics, conversations maybe in the Western media, in Western people. A question was or is Islam compatible with democracy? This is the biggest question that has been discussed after September 11th. The biggest question after September 11, 2001, was whether Islam is compatible with democracy or not. Before that, there was another question as well. Is Islam compatible with economic development? Because there are some people who have a perception that Islam is not a religion of development. Islam causes underdevelopment. Why is majority of Muslim countries underdeveloped, less developed than others? Some people say that this is because of Islam. Islam is responsible of poverty, ignorance, less education among people. I think this is a wrong perception. Indonesian case shows that there are compatibilities between Islam and democracy. This is one. The second is that, and this is also another important question in Asia. There was a narrative, a hypothesis that Asian values are not compatible with democracy. That there was a theory, right? There was a theory that Asian values are not compatible with democracy. Indonesian case shows, of course, Indonesia is part of Asia, and we have Asian values. But Indonesian case shows that Islam, Asian values, do not contradict with democracy. And I think this is a very important development in our history as a Muslim society in general. Because this perception among other people that Islam is incompatible, Islam is in conflict with democracy, is very dangerous, I guess. This is a dangerous idea. And this is dangerous idea not because this will bring bad image to the Muslim. This is also dangerous because it will give also a wrong idea to our younger generation. There are some younger Muslim generation who think that there is a contradiction between Islam and democracy. There is a contradiction between Islam and nation state. Thanks, Dr. Bilal Sufi. I think you give a very, very important speech about the importance of bringing together Islamic ethic, Islamic values, Quranic framework with modern frameworks of covenants. This is very important because Islam, and this is exactly. Your thought is our thought. You make a very important point, because we have a very important a teaching in Islam, as said by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet Muhammad used to say, "Al-Muslimuna ala shurutihim. Al-Muslimuna ala shurutihim." And then the ulama add like a sharah, a commentary. "Ma lam yakun sharton ahalla haraman aw harrama halalan." Muslim people are bound by covenant, by agreement they made among themselves and with other people. If you strike a deal, an agreement, a covenant with other people, you are bound to follow the agreement, as long as the agreement is not contradicting Islamic teaching and tenet. So, and this is exactly, this hadith, this prophetic tradition is a tradition that gives us an argument why nation state and Islam and democracy are compatible with each other. Because al-Muslimuna ala shurutihim. The Muslim people are bound by agreement, by contract. You know, the modern theory of social contract came from Rousseau, from France. But actually we have this teaching. I mean, long time ago, even before Rousseau and John Locke, we have this prophetic tradition that says, Al-Muslimuna ala shurutihim. Muslim people are bound by any agreement and contract they strike with other people. So this is exactly the argument that we use as a Muslim in Indonesia to make a case that nation state is something that is compatible with Islam. I should say this because there was in 40s, Indonesia was declared as an independent country in 1945, August 17th of August 1945. So since then, we are an independent state. But back then, there was a polemic. There was a big polemic between a nationalist and small numbers of people who call themselves as let's say, Islamists. Yeah? The question was whether Islam and nationalism is compatible. Because, you know, there was some Muslim people who still believe that nation state as a political, institution is not compatible with Islamic teaching, because we have our political, organization, political state that's based on our tradition. And some people still think that nation state is not compatible with Islam. But our ulama in Indonesia, they make a case that nation state is compatible with Islam. So that way they support the Indonesian state as a national state, not an Islamic state, but national state. Because why? Because we are bound by a contract, by an agreement we strike, we make with other people, fellow Indonesian, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. So this is first thing. Indonesian case, this is a lesson that I might share with you all, that Indonesian case shows that Islam and democracy, Islam and economic development are compatible. And I believe personally that there is no contradiction. There is no contradiction. As long as we are capable of understanding Islam and Islamic teaching, Islamic tradition contextually. And this is a word that should be highlighted. Understanding Islam contextually. Because we live in different contexts, and we need to understand Islam in these different contexts. And we need to revisit our tradition. Not only revisit the Western tradition, but also revisiting our tradition. We love our tradition, but we also love progress. We love also, modernity, as long as modernity doesn't contradict our teaching. So there is a wisdom in our organization that says, Al-muhafadhah al-qadim al-salih wal-akhdhu bil-jadid al-aslah. Meaning preserving a good tradition while adopting a new and better tradition. This is the wisdom that is the foundation of our religious life in Nahdlatul Ulama. Al-muhafadhah al-qadim al-salih wal-akhdhu bil-jadid al-aslah. So based on this wisdom, we develop a certain understanding of Islam that is compatible with a changing situation. We love our tradition. We have a tradition of fiqh, of theology, of Sufism. Those traditions are very important, but this tradition should be understood and revisited, taking into account, taking into our consideration the changing societies, the changing context. That's the religious wisdom that we have in Nahdlatul Ulama. And lastly, this is also something that is important to be highlighted. This month, the Grand Sheikh of Al-Azhar, Dr. Ahmad Al-Tayyib, visited Indonesia. I think in the first month of July. And then next September, Pope Francis of Vatican will visit Indonesia. So the visit of two important religious figures fall within the same year, the year of 2025. At the end of the term of President Jokowi, the current president. I should say this because, as you may be aware, there was a very important development in our religious life as a Muslim, which took place in 2019. In 2019, there was a document signed by Pope Francis and Dr. Ahmad Al-Tayyib as the Grand Sheikh of Al-Azhar, the Sheikh Al-Azhar. The document was called the Document of Human Fraternity for World's Peace, for Global Peace. In Arabic, it's called Wathiqatul Ukhuwah al-Insaniyah Lissalam al-Alami. The document was brokered and signed in Abu Dhabi. In my opinion, this is not a small development. This is a very important development because Christianity, Catholicism including, and Islam are one of the largest religions in the world today. And I think if there is a good relationship, a dialogue between Islam and Christianity and other religions as well, I think it will be bringing a peace to the world. So religious dialogue and interreligious dialogue is also part of the important dimension in our religious life in Indonesia as well. Nahdlatul Ulama has been in the forefront. The difference between, this is a minor issue to be highlighted, the difference between Pakistan and Indonesia is you were colonized by British and you still speak good English. We were colonized by Dutch, but we never speak a good Dutch. When we declared our independence from Dutch, everything Dutch was cut off. We never spoke Dutch language. Our fathers and our grandfathers, they speak Dutch language. They speak. But my generation, we never spoke Dutch language. Yeah. Because we hate colonial power. That's the difference between Pakistan and Indonesia. You speak still the colonial language. We don't speak colonial language. So interreligious dialogue is very important. Interreligious dialogue is very important because Islam also teach dialogue among people with different faith and cultures. Ya ayuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dzakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum syu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. The reason God created human being as different people, different nation, different tribes, different groups, the reason is that you know each other better. So the teaching of ta'aruf is one of our teaching, and dialogue is the foundation of ta'aruf. So by this, I will end my presentation. Thanks for your sober perseverance to listen to my boring speech. Thanks